Hi, I'm Sheila. I live in Pencaitland, and I was nearly run down near here a couple of years ago when I had to leave the narrow footpath with the buggy. I got caught between a van and a car, and the van driver braked, which was fortunate. I called the police to report it, and the community officer was lovely. He calmed me down, but I decided that I had to do something. So I started the footpath safety campaign. Yet here we are, 2.5 years later, and the footpath is still a narrow sliver of pavement alongside a busy, scary road. And pedestrians use it. They use it because they need it. In fact, I mean, many of you saw it for yourself. The Department of Transportation has given you a paper which recommends that the best technical solution is not to touch that main road footpath, but to leave it as it is and create a new woodland route here in Pencaitland. But the transportation paper doesn't give you all the facts. It says that there have been no recorded safety incidents, but there was my incident. There was 3-year-old Duncan, there was 8-year-old Finley, there was 8-year-old Harry. All of them were forced onto the road. They fell onto the road because of the narrowness of the path. There was Gary Bonington. He was just barely missed having his head bashed by a wing mirror. There was Scott Ramsey's grandmother, who was nearly pulled under a lorry. I could go on, but these are all incidents never reported, but I believe they should count. We also have from the Department of Transportation in their paper the statement that there's been no real increase in traffic in Pencaitland in the last 10 years, but that's actually obscuring the truth. They've taken an average over 10 years, but just in the past couple years, before and after the Dalkeith bypass opened, we've seen a big flood of traffic through Pencaitland. The ELC has given us figures that show about 3,100 vehicles a day on average before the bypass opened and 4,200 on average afterwards, and that's a 32% increase. That's an appreciable increase, and I think it proves that there's an awful lot more drivers coming through Pencaitland, many of them new, who may not be familiar with the confines of the road. The Department of Transportation also points to our existing woodland path here in Pencaitland, and it says it's a perfectly acceptable alternative to the main road for pedestrians, and it recommends that we have another woodland route set up here in Pencaitland. But these recommendations are out of touch with the reality of living in the village. The woodland route we already have has been impassable for 2 winters. Even if a new woodland path was paved, if it was lit, it would be at best partially used because, frankly, people have written to me to say they don't feel safe if they're going to be using an off-road path, if it's hours of darkness, or if they're alone. The transportation report also doesn't acknowledge the mandate for footpath widening that's here in Pencaitland, and there's a clear mandate. We had 75% of respondents coming out strongly in favor of it in the community consultation. We had dozens of letters of support. We had 325 people signing the petition with in just 3 days to urge the council to immediately widen the path. The mandate itself is not in question, but the report is now suggesting that villagers are in agreement that we need a new woodland path. This is not true. The community councillors, the congregational board members have questioned the environmental impact of this and whether a new woodland path would be used. Now, we at the campaign are in support of the idea that there could be a new community car park for use by the church and others, but let us stay focused on what pedestrians need. They need a direct, safe route through the heart of the village and not off the road. At the campaign, we have no interest in rolling over people who are concerned about these changes. That's why we agreed last August to give dialogue one last chance. Now, the dialogue showed that we have no common ground, but it was interesting. The congregational board of the church had started by saying they were concerned about losing the ability to park on the street right outside the church, but in meeting them, I dug a little deeper, and what they spoke most passionately about was aesthetics and the fear that the historic character of Pencaitland would be diminished by these footpath improvements. But actually, the aesthetic changes are minimal. We're looking at relocating traffic signals that already exist. We're looking at putting yellow lines onto the road, and if that's the price of safety, I believe that we should pay it. One woman told me that she thinks the path is safe as it is. She said, you just have to hold kids like this. But if you're a childminder, if you are a mother with 3 children, you only have 2 hands. I just feel that observation is really not in touch with reality. Additionally, we have other people saying that the footpath should stay as it is because it's so dangerous that it forces drivers to take care. But I think experience shows that not all drivers take care, and pedestrians are using the path because they need to. Many of them find it terrifying, and we shouldn't be using them as some kind of human shield traffic calming measure. It's not fair and it's not right. I accept that widening the path will put the traffic signals farther apart. It will make red lights longer, and it seems that transportation is very worried that drivers will jump the lights, but evidence doesn't support this. 4 miles from here in Coastland, there is a 4-way blind red light junction, and drivers don't jump those lights because it wouldn't be sensible. And if drivers were to jump the lights in Pencaitland, surely we can use red light cameras or other measures that we have available to us. You are being asked to consider a new woodland path for Pencaitland, but do we want to spend £70,000 on a path that is unlikely to be used in the snow, in the dark, or when people are in a hurry? Would you cut across, directly east to west, or would you go around 2 sides of a triangle? I think we need to do what is realistic here. Unless the council intends to remove that footpath, it needs to improve it. I'm urging you to do what is realistic and what is right for pedestrian safety and not wait for a tragedy. I wanted to do everything that I could to prevent a tragedy from happening to my family or anyone else, and that's why I started the campaign. But it's you who have the power to act. It's in your hands to protect pedestrians here in Pencaitland. Please do support footpath widening. Thank you very much for listening.